So Dan, welcome to the Money Games podcast. How are you?
Thank you. It's good to be here. Thank you.
I think for a bit of context, we know each other a little bit.
We do.
I've been coming to some of your sessions, which we're going to get onto very shortly. But I just wanted to say, first off, thank you for everything you've done, because it has actually changed my entire life, I think.
Wow, that's a big statement.
Yeah, it is a big statement. And I think to set the context for today, I think we want to talk a little bit about health as well as wealth, but also like purpose in life as well.
Yeah.
And I'd love for you to bring us up to speed a little bit about what you do and some of your story as well.
Okay, so essentially I started my own business about 16 months ago with my wife. And I came from quite a heavy duty corporate background initially. But I was very, very ill in February 2021. And that really set a whole series of dominoes starting to fall, really. And here I am now running a business. I am a Wim Hof method instructor, but I'm also an Oxygen Advantage advanced breathwork coach. Now, this was way outside what I used to know, but I discovered, by default, really, that breathwork and getting cold were the things that were going to make me better. And when I was at my lowest in that sort of middle part of 2021, it was those things that that started I started to realise that was what was going to get me through this.
Just talk to us a little bit about before that.
So my medical history is quite complicated. I had cancer in my late 30s, which I'd fully recovered from. But that left my immune system compromised. So any bug that the kids came home with, I was the first to catch, flus, coughs, colds, anything. And of course, when COVID came along, I was particularly concerned. I was doing a lot of traveling with my job at that time. And sure enough, caught COVID like most of us did in 2021. I did my 10 days at home, testing every day as we did. It seems like a long distant memory now.
I know, it's wild, isn't it?
And I eventually I was well enough to go back to work and jumped on a plane almost immediately. I was back in the office, and a couple of days later flew down to the Middle East and collapsed in a hotel bathroom. And I was there for quite some time before anybody realised what was going on. And to be perfectly honest with you, I never fully recovered from that. I got home, soldiered on as we do, carried on working hard, carried on, trying to function normally.
You went back to work?
I went back to work, yeah. But because I just thought it was a virus, I just sort of picked up something, on the plane or whatever.
Yeah.
And I never fully recovered from it. And it got worse and worse and worse. And I went into the office on one day, 5 or 6 weeks after I'd got back from the Middle East. And I genuinely couldn't remember who it was I was supposed to meet. I'd met them 1,000 times before. I'd met them in the same building 1,000 times before. I genuinely couldn't remember who they were.
Oh, you went memory went?
Completely, complete brain fog.
Wow.
Anyway, lots of other symptoms thrown into the mix. Insomnia, a good day was getting from the bed to the sofa, really bad fatigue, pins and needles in my hand so much so that I couldn't pick anything up, couldn't see properly, just awful. And I went into a bit of a hole from a mental health point of view, because I thought I was rewinding the clock, going back to that, that point in my late 30s. Anyway, I signed up for a lot of research programs into long COVID, because the doctor was beginning to talk to me about the fact that he thought it may have been long COVID. So I signed up to lots of research programs, and one of those research programs brought to light was that non-sleep deep rest, NSDR, was a really good thing to do just to calm yourself down. So I was anxious about the fact that I wasn't working. I wasn't, supporting the team that relied on me. I was letting people down. All those things were floating through my head all the time. All the time I was sat on the sofa, unable to do anything, couldn't think straight. But they were worrying me. And I discovered that this resting and just focusing on my breathing, nothing else, was having an effect. I didn't quite know what it was, but I just felt different afterwards, put it that way. And then one of my symptoms was getting really, really hot for no apparent reason, a real hot flush. So taking myself upstairs and having a cold shower, again, I was beginning to feel a little bit different. And it wasn't until a good friend of mine put me in touch with a book and said, "You got to read this book by a Dutchman called Wim Hof," that I realised that I was practising 2 of the 3 pillars of the Wim Hof method, breathwork and cold exposure. Did some research, started to enjoy understanding a bit more about the power of the breath and the power of the cold. And eventually I got to the point where I decided I needed a focus for my mind. My mind was going to mush. I decided that I would follow the online training course and just see if I could get to the end of the training course, just so that I had a purpose every day.
Yeah.
Get up, a couple of hours of study and just start getting my brain working again. And that's what I did. And then that went to the next level once I'd passed the online training course, to then sign myself up for the practical training course and got a mentor who was also a Wim Hof method instructor, and, built up my knowledge and understanding. And then went and did my final assessment, practical assessments, and became a qualified Wim Hof method instructor. This was all still with the thought in my mind that I was going to go back to work. Right. Full time. Go back straight back into the job that they very kindly held open for me. And it wasn't until I had to make a decision. I was well enough. My doctor said, "Look, I think you can go back to work." I said, "I agree. I definitely can." And because I wanted to go back earlier, by the way. I'd wanted to go back to work much, much earlier. And the doctor said to me, "I've seen this happen too many times to allow you to go back to work too early. You'll crash and burn. You'll be back where you are, back where you were 6 months ago." So the time came for me to make the decision to go back to work. And I thought, actually, do I really want to go back into a full-time corporate job with all the stress and anxiety of a big job? Or should I do something that's way more fulfilling, way more worthwhile, and start to promote and teach this stuff to other people to help them get better? So I took that decision.
Amazing.
And then after I'd taken that decision, I then decided that actually Wim Hof method instructing was probably not enough. I wanted to do something else, hence the oxygen advantage training as well.
Wow.
So yeah, quite a convoluted story, but that's how I ended up here. Working for myself with my wife as a business partner. She's been in the health and wellbeing space for a long time, so it was a natural progression for her. To go from that full-time salary job into self-employment is quite a challenge.
Oh, absolutely.
But it's it was the right thing to do. I genuinely feel that I've now got a purpose.
Love that for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's amazing. But I think this happened to you obviously because of your health, and that can happen to anyone. But it can also happen to people that have been burning the candle at both ends and working so hard, 6 a.m. train into the city or wherever you work, or, whatever that might well be, and just really burning yourself so hard until you are forced to have a reset. And that can actually be so damaging.
I 100% agree. Do you know, I was on the train early this morning coming up here, and I had 5 people in my vision, and 4 of those 5 people were breathing through their mouth. They were already in a stress state before they'd even got off the train and started their job. On the phone, neck down, breathing through the mouth, or, asleep with their mouth open. Scary. A lot of people are not realising the damage that not breathing properly can do. And they're setting themselves into that state of heightened alert, that heightened state, before they've even started.
Yeah.
And that's just going to cumulatively affect, have a cumulative effect as their day progresses. But your point about health and wealth that you said right at the start really, I really got some insight when I was not working, how important your health is. Because without your health, you can't be a dad, you can't be a husband, you can't be a partner, you can't be a mate, you can't be part of the social circle because you're not well.
Which is everything we strive for, right?
Everything falls apart. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like your entire life. And when those things happen to you, like fully open, I could, being a founder of a growing business takes its toll. And I was doing exactly that 7 days a week, 16-hour days, just going for it. Got out of shape, relationships started to fall apart, didn't see my family enough, didn't see my friends, and all because I was like just drilled for so focused on this mission. And it was actually when I first met you that I first got introduced to the Wim Hof methods. I saw a marked change in me in that day, but I went home, carried on, etc., etc. And it was only really in sort of January time that it sort of really started to manifest. And it really does make you think, like, what are we actually doing all of this for? I think it stems over into your money conversation as well, because what are you investing for? What are you actually working so hard? Like, do you want to be that CEO that you're turning up to be every single day because that's the pathway that you're leading? And if you haven't got the back end sorted out, none of that matters really, because you'll get a wake up call at some point, and it will either happen to you in your 20s or your 50s, or your 60s or whatever. That it's going to happen to you at some point, if you haven't got that right.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think also that if you are working towards burnout, if you are stressed all the time, unable to sleep and not eating properly and working too hard, then, you're not going to be making the right decisions. And those include the decisions that you talk about in terms of, wealth and investment and all the financial decisions, as well as everything else. So you're quite right. You almost need to rewind the clock right back and start with the basics, get the basics right, and then everything else will follow. I say in my workshops and courses all the time that the mind controls the body, but the breath controls the mind. So if you get control of your breath, you control your mind, everything else will flow.
Yeah, it is really, really powerful stuff. And we're going to do some today, but I do want to just sort of hark back a touch, because I think the context, like what did you do?
So, okay, I've talked about this career, but not talked about what it was I did. So I worked initially for an international marina company, so parking places for boats, basically, but on an international basis. So we were operating facilities around the world that enable people to keep their boats safe.
Yachts and things.
Yachts
like
and things, yachts, powerboats, super yachts, and then we were getting, because the brand that I worked for was the best known brand in the business. I was getting a lot of inquiries from people that wanted us to set up a marina facility for them, design it for them, and so on. And we had no ability to do that. So I created a consultancy business where we would take those projects, we would do the design, and then those projects were then fed into our operating business. So we would operate and brand the facility as well. And that was really successful. Lots of travel, very different working environments in every different location, different culture, different business culture as well. Really interesting to learn, how to do business in Italy versus how to do business in the Middle East versus how to do business in the Caribbean. And that was absolutely fascinating. And I really enjoyed that part of the role. And then I was headhunted and I moved to the Goodwood estate down in West Sussex, where I ran the consultancy business for Goodwood. So everything that we did on the estate in Goodwood, I would help deliver off the estate. And we did lots of really cool stuff. We did some work with the Henry Ford Museum in Detroit. We did work for the Saudi government designing motorsport theme parks. We had projects all over the world, all over the place.
So safe to say, a pretty highly stressful, powerful role.
Very much so. Yeah, very much so.
Always
with a really strong brand sat behind you as well. So you had to deliver to the standard of the brand all the time. And it had to be on top form.
And dealing internationally, you're then dealing with time zones. You're getting emails at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Often urgent.
Yeah. My day would start sort of 5 a.m. and probably not finish until 10:30, 11 o'clock because of the time zone situation. And the same in the marina business as well. I used to commute to London, and I'd be on the phone to my colleagues, in the sort of Eastern time zone, first thing in the morning, and then in the Western time zone in the evening. Crazy.
Are you ready to take your first steps into investing? We're thrilled to partner with Trading 212, the app that makes investing accessible and straightforward for everyone. With Trading 212, you can open a stocks and shares ISA that's packed with features, zero commission on your investments, industry low FX fees, and access to thousands of ETFs, funds, and individual stocks from markets all over the world. The app is incredibly intuitive, designed to help you invest with confidence, whether you're a total beginner or already a pro. Trading 212 is FCA regulated, and the client's funds are protected by FSCS protection. Honestly, I am such a fan of how easy it is to use that I've started recommending it to friends who are new to investing themselves. It's simple and secure, and it gives you all the tools you need to build your portfolio. And here's the best part. Right now, Trading 212 is offering you guys a free fractional share worth up to £100 when you sign up and deposit just £1. To grab this offer, head to the link in the show notes or use the code MGP when signing up. As always, remember your capital is at risk when investing. ISA rules and T's and C's and other fees may apply. So why wait? Start building your future with Trading 212 today. And now back to the episode. So knowing what you know now, was it worth it? All of that hard work and stress to get to your point that you are today?
That's a really difficult question to answer. Was it worth it? I don't get me wrong. I really enjoyed what I did. It was, it's an interesting job, and it was way more interesting than I realise a lot of other people, are faced with when it comes to work. But I was working for shareholders, so making potentially wealthy people even more wealthy whilst I slowly killed myself. So that is probably not worth it, is it?
No, that's what I was getting at, because you've got to this point, you've had that aha moment. It happened to me. And I feel like unless you're working for somewhere where the mission is ingrained into your psyche and being, 99% of the people in this country and all around the world, that isn't the case. You're just doing it because you're there. It eventually will start to take its toll in its health, but also in your mind as well.
Yes.
And I feel like that's why I asked that question, because everyone that I've met that's gone, oh yeah, and then they move over and do the thing, have gone, no, but yes. Because I think it's very important to not completely discount all the work you've done up to this point, and because it's made you the person that you are today.
Yes, but it's also all the lessons that I learned all the way through have set me well for creating a new business. So I'm very brand aware. I'm very structured in how I put things together, very professional in the way I deliver things. I've stood in front of senior leaders of government, presenting, and pitching. So I know how to engage with an audience. At least I think I do. All those lessons that I've learned going through my career starting to play out now. So yes, that experience is sat there in the background.
Yeah, I think because when people initially come to look at, say, a business idea, they're like, well, I don't know anything. I'm like, well, you do. You actually know a lot more than you think you do. And I think people are so hard on themselves when they come to that situation. And it's like, well, actually, if you've done a customer service role in call centers, well, great. You know how to talk to angry people. Big part of the thing is being able to stay calm in those situations. It's a massive part in business, staying calm in stressful situations, because it will happen. And there's tons of things in there, dealing with a team, being part of a team, teamwork, understanding management. If you've moved into management, how do you deal with people? And these are all things and skills which are going to be very powerful for you when you go and do your own thing, if you go and do your own thing.
Totally agree. And you know, if you've had the opportunity, like I did, to create, you know, business plan after business plan for other people, when it comes to doing your own, you kind of know what you're looking for.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So if someone's listening to this right now and they're thinking, yeah, you know, or they've got that kind of gut feeling that they're kind of meant to do something else and they didn't ever set out to work in account management or, you know, hospitality or whatever that might well be, like, what's some core things that they can start to look at to really start to change the way that they think about this?
Your reference to gut instinct is really interesting. There's a recent study done. I can't remember the precise details of who did the study, but they suggest that your subconscious brain can deal with 300 million thoughts a second.
300 million?
300 million. Your conscious mind can only cope with about 2,000, which is still quite a lot every second. So those people that feel that they've got an idea, but they're not sure what that idea is, they know they want to do something, then ask your subconscious to help you. And you can use a breathing exercise that helps your creativity. Okay. And we'll go through that breathing exercise shortly. But the idea is that you plant the seed in your subconscious, you allow that seed to cultivate, and it will bring you the answer.
It works.
It works. It is remarkable.
Okay.
And many of us have had that situation where we've been out, you know, maybe gone for a run or gone for a walk or sat on the beach, not really thinking about anything. And all of a sudden the answer will come to something you didn't think you knew, you know, you didn't think you were thinking about.
That's why they say the best ideas in the shower, right? Like,
yeah. So that's your gut instinct, your subconscious working on your behalf. So for those people listening that perhaps know that they need to do something, they want to get out of the circle that they're in, just plant the seed in your subconscious and see what happens. And it's very easy, because all you need to do is sit yourself down in a nice quiet room, just close your eyes and really focus on your breath. Don't change anything, but just notice your breath. And do that for a few minutes. And then when you think you've had enough, do it for a few minutes more, and then ask your subconscious to help you. Saying the words, "I would like some help with my idea," and leave it at that. Then just bring your consciousness back to the forefront of your mind, and the answer will usually come. Might take a couple of days, might take a couple of weeks, but the answer will usually come.
So can we do this? What do we do? So we just...
It's not going to make very good podcast material because it's very quiet breathing.
Okay.
So all you literally do is just sit quietly in a room, close your eyes, and literally just focus on your breath. Just for a few minutes, and then when you think you've had enough, you just reset and do it for a few minutes more, and then ask your subconscious the question.
And for you, what's a good breath?
So a good breath is always in through the nose, and a nice long exhale. So we'll do some more sort of structured breath exercises for everybody to practice as we go through this chat. But the key to dialing down or switching on, if you like, your parasympathetic nervous system, your rest and digest nervous system, which is the one you want to be in most of the time, is to extend your exhale. So if you breathe in through your nose and then either extend your exhale out through your nose or through your mouth, purse lips, that is immediately going to switch on your parasympathetic nervous system.
Yeah.
And all those guys that I was witnessing on the train today, they're all breathing through their mouth, very high, up in the chest, very shallow, very fast breathing. Now, a good breath rate when you're at rest is about 6 breaths a minute. So if you think about it, 5 seconds of inhale, 5 seconds of exhale is 10 seconds times 6 times a minute. That's a really good breath. When you are breathing at that rate, your body systems are all in harmony with each other. Your heart rate is in harmony with your respiratory rate, and all your body systems are working, as they should do. They're all getting the right amount of oxygen and what have you.
Yeah, like harping back to before, like I came to see you in January, was like that I was like mouth breathing throughout the day. And, this is useful for anyone that's sort of working, was that I'd get that like brain fog. Is that typical after lunch would have to have a coffee or tea to get me through that period. And even in that period, I would never book calls. I would never like do any deep work just because I physically wasn't like actually mentally able to.
Yes.
And that got worse and worse and worse and was growing and growing and growing until it was like 6 hours of the day, which was massively impacting like how you live. And so I think it's like massively beneficial for founders, but anyone and any sort of work, like calming yourself down will make you focus better, make you sleep better. There's so many benefits.
Absolutely. Focus, concentration, sleep, energy. There are so many benefits, and it is such a simple thing. We were all born into this world breathing exactly as we should do. As if you watch a baby breathe, they're the perfect breather, in and out through the nose. Belly is pumping. That's where the breath motor is working at its best. The diaphragm is really key. And we teach ourselves the path of least resistance and begin to breathe through our mouth too much. And we've all witnessed that moment where we're looking at our phone and then you suddenly take a big gulp of air in because we've stopped breathing. So we're not only breathing incorrectly and heightening our state, but then we're dropping our oxygen levels significantly by not breathing. When we're looking at our phones or responding to an email. So you've got to, you have got to consciously think about this stuff to start with. But the brain is so clever that it very quickly realizes that when you're breathing in the right way, that is more beneficial for it and your body, and therefore it slowly trains you to breathe the way it wants you to breathe.
Yeah.
Which is remarkable. I love it.
Me too. I can't wait to do some of today, actually. But what happens if you continue down that path? If you aren't breathing correctly and because everyone's like, oh yeah, obviously you breathe. I get that quite a lot when I talk about this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, of course you do, but you don't breathe correctly. So what happens to you if you don't for a long period of time?
So if you don't, you set yourself on a downward spiral. So your body works in a heightened state all the time. So you're full of adrenaline, full of cortisol, stress hormones, basically. As a result of that, the rest of your body function starts to slow down. So everything from your athletic ability through to your cognitive ability, even things like sexual performance are affected by stress levels. So
testosterone lowered, basically, or
well, your body's in a heightened state. So when your body's in that heightened state, fight or flight mode, all your body is telling you to do is to run away. Is to run away from that saber-toothed tiger that's chasing you. That's where that innate response comes from. And when you're in that heightened state, all the other systems in your body shut down. So in my late 30s, as I said, I was diagnosed and treated for cancer. I had colon cancer. I am 100% convinced that I had that colon cancer because my life was too stressful. I was operating in a heightened state. My marriage was breaking down. Everything was going wrong. I couldn't do the things that I wanted to do well. My exercise routines had all gone out the window. Everything was a shambles and a mess, and I was in a complete mess. And I am absolutely convinced that that's what allowed that particular disease to get hold of me. So when you're in that heightened state, all those systems stop working correctly and efficiently, and you open yourself up to illness and disease. So it's a really important thing to get a hold of.
Yeah, because it's not just personal, it's everything, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Wow, that's so crazy. And people think this stuff is going to take them ages, but doesn't, does it?
It really doesn't. No, it really doesn't. And it might sound a little bit woo-woo, but there's a huge amount of science that sits behind it.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm interested in, is that, there are numerous studies around that show that just some very simple breath techniques have a dramatic impact on, all the things that we should be able to do.
I do it every day now, every morning. And it has changed everything. It's changed everything. And it's just, I was that guy that would like go 0 to 100, but it wouldn't be outbursts from it. It's internal about like the smallest thing. And that would stay with me for 15, 20 minutes and would probably happen, 10, 15 times a day. And then you add that up, that's 2-3 hours of heightened stress. And my Whoop with the data is testament to that. If you look back at last year, like majority of the day is spent medium to high stress. But with the breath work, I now sit sort of most of the day medium, but sometimes in the low section of my stress levels. And it's the breath work and the cold exposure, which we'll get onto as well, which I think has sort of really turned that around.
Yeah. I think it's important to differentiate between bad stress and good stress. So actually, bad stress is all the stuff we've been talking about, that, the ridiculous hours of work, the constant communication, the fact that our brains are getting sucked into stuff all the time.
Social media, WhatsApp, etc.
All that sort of thing is creating that heightened stress. Bad, inverted commas, bad stress. Good stress is necessary. So putting yourself into an ice bath on a regular basis is a good stress. You're teaching your body to adapt. You're teaching your body to stay switched on. But it's but it's encouraging your body to adapt to stress in a different way, and therefore the delta, if you like, between being super relaxed and super stressed becomes starts to decrease the more and more you put good stress into your life. So breath work is a good stress as well, because you are increasing you're decreasing carbon dioxide levels in your blood, which your body doesn't particularly like. It thinks it's in a high altitude environment, and therefore produces more red blood cells to help you cope with delivering oxygen around your body. So all these things that you're now doing are putting good stress or hormetic stress into your body, which is a really beneficial thing. Get rid of all the bad stuff, keep the good stuff.
Yeah, and I like doing it in the morning because then it sets you for the day.
Makes you feel powerful, right?
Does. It honestly is like having an energy drink at like first thing in the morning, but sustained for a long period of time. And those little moments where I used to go 0 to 100 internally just don't happen as much. It still happens because, stuff stresses you out, man. It's life, right? Life's hard, and we've got to be aware of that. But it's the little tiny things now. I'm just like, oh, whatever. And I find that that's made such a difference to my life, but equally as well, the impact on the level of work and the quality of work that I can actually get done is phenomenally different. And I just see things a lot more clearer. And I think it's such an easy thing to put into your day. So you do it before you leave bed, right?
Yeah. So the first thing, as soon as I wake up is I do 3 or 4 rounds of breath work.
And what's a round of breath work?
So a round of breath work for me is 30 or 40 full in breaths through my nose, filling up my belly and then my chest, and then allowing that air to escape. So 30 or 40 of those, just letting it out with no force, just a really nice relaxed exhale.
Okay.
So 30 or 40 of those.
So do it, guys.
It's very difficult to do sat up, actually. It's much easier to do lying down. So no force on the exhale, really important. And then after 30 or 40 of those breaths, I take my final exhale and I hold my breath empty for 30, 40, 50 seconds, depending on, how well I feel, and then take a recovery breath in and hold full for 10, 15 seconds, let that breath go and start all over again.
Okay.
You have to be very careful with this exercise if you are epileptic, if you are pregnant, if you have heart condition, high blood pressure. So please don't do this if you're, fall into any of those categories. Loads of information on our website about the safety aspect of it. But what that breath is doing, and I do 3 or 4 rounds of that, is putting my body, well, first of all, really oxygenating my body. So I'm 100% oxygenated. And then during that breath hold time, my blood carbon dioxide levels begin to creep up. And it's that blood carbon dioxide level that is the trigger to breathe. So by forcefully breathing lots of air in and then allowing that breath to escape, my blood carbon dioxide level is really low. And slowly it starts to rebuild as I'm holding my breath. And that rebuilding of carbon dioxide level sets off a whole sequence of processes in the body, including the production of more red blood cells. So your oxygen carrying capacity is vastly increased, which is why things like focus and concentration improve by following this breath work. Because you've got much more ability to get oxygen delivered to where it needs to get to. And again, your body is so blooming clever. The first place it delivers oxygen to is your brain. So there's a lovely little exercise we can do now, actually, in terms of getting oxygen to your brain. It's so simple.
Okay.
So if you've got something you really need to concentrate on, you've got 20 minutes of something, something that really requires 100% focus.
Report, key email.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Investment decision.
Yeah. Smart.
Put your finger under your nose. Take your normal breath in through your nose, and then make your out breath as gentle and as soft and as low as you can across your finger out through your nose. So you can barely feel the air moving across your nose. And then when you need to, take that next breath in. Really slowing that breath right down so you can barely feel it. The hairs in your nostrils hardly moving, barely feel the air drifting across your finger. Now, what you're doing there is you are telling your body, you're allowing that carbon dioxide level to increase in your blood, which is why it can get a little bit uncomfortable. You feel a little bit of air hunger, like you need to take that next breath in. All that is the carbon dioxide level in your blood starting to increase. And as a result of that carbon dioxide level in your blood increasing, science lesson coming up,
okay,
warning, the only way oxygen can release itself from the red blood cells that are carrying it around the body is if the carbon dioxide level in your blood is at the right level. It's called the Bohr effect. My wife thinks the Bohr effect is me sat in a chair talking about breathing, actually. But the Bohr effect is all about how oxygen detaches itself from red blood cells.
Okay.
And it can only do that if the carbon dioxide level in your blood is at the right level.
Yeah.
If it's too low, i.e. if you're mouth breathing all the time, all that happens is that oxygen latches onto the red blood cell, travels around your body, gets back to your lungs and is breathed back out again through your mouth. So all those people on the train mouth breathing, taking breaths in, but a large proportion of the oxygen they're taking in is not getting to where it needs to get to in the body. If you are keeping control of your carbon dioxide level in your blood, that oxygen can detach itself from the red blood cell wherever it's needed.
Oh, interesting.
So by doing that little exercise we've just done, we've very, and you need to do that for 90 seconds or so.
Okay.
Is we are very slowly increasing the carbon dioxide level in the blood, and when the carbon dioxide level increases, more oxygen can be released from the red blood cells. So
right.
Carbon dioxide, everyone thinks is a waste gas. It is a waste gas because it's produced, as a result of body systems, but it is also absolutely essential for getting oxygen delivered around the body.
Wow. So if you're coming up to something really important, 90 seconds of that is going to set you right up.
Sammy, the advantage of the exercises that I'm going to show you, including that one, is you can do that anywhere. No one will think anything of it.
Yeah, you just
sit there with your finger under your nose, just focusing on how you're breathing. You can be looking at a screen, you can be looking at a book. As long as you are putting your full focus on that exhale and making sure it's as slow and as relaxed and as soft and as calming as you possibly can, that's really going to help give your brain an extra shot of oxygen.
Wow, so interesting, isn't it? The science behind it's just hard to argue with, isn't it, really?
It is. You know, all of the things that I coach and teach is scientifically proven. I won't go down the route of not understanding it myself. And, you know, there is no doubt that you know, like you say, a lot of people say to me, well, I've been breathing for 50 years. It's done me all right. I'm still here.
Yeah.
But when you know how to breathe properly, the difference it makes to your life is remarkable, absolutely remarkable. And you're testament to that by saying that it has changed your life, and that's a big statement to make.
I think I'm just more conscious as well. Like, you know, like I now know that when I'm out and about, I'll catch myself and like close your mouth, and I just actually immediately breathe easier and just like, okay, I'm more calm, more alert, and it has such a big difference.
If you think about why the nose is there, you know, we're not supposed to eat through our nose, so why are you breathing through your mouth? Your nose is there to breathe. There are 30 functions associated with breathing through your nose that are directly linked to health and well-being. So things like filtering the air of pathogens, humidifying the air, temperature controlling the air, you know, removing dust and, you know, all the nasties that are floating around, particularly in cities. So if you are breathing all that in through your mouth, it's going straight down into your lungs. And, you know, things like asthma and, you know, respiratory diseases are exacerbated by mouth breathing. So if you are able to get your nose back to where it's supposed to go, it's going to make a huge difference.
Yeah, I love it. You mentioned NSDR earlier, non-sleep deep rests. I've been doing that for probably about a year, but I utilize it when I've had a really bad night of sleep. And so if I've not slept correctly, I'll do the 10-20 minute Andrew Huberman protocol, which is just insane. And it's like you're floating when you're doing it. And then after, it's like you've had like a deep 2-3 hour nap and you're just back in the game. And this can be really useful for people because it's like the 10-minute one's even great. It really works. 20-minute is a little bit more powerful, but like you can do that on a lunch break. If you're like, you know, kids really stressed out, not sleeping correctly, take yourself away, little quiet room, 10 minutes, and you are back in the game, and it is really, really life-changing.
Yeah, you can do it anywhere, actually. You know, if you sat on the train, you know, sat on the sofa watching TV, whatever the circumstance is, that's a really useful exercise. But the key part of that exercise
is breathing.
Yeah. So all these things all hook back to the breath. But interesting that you talk about doing that when you have a bad night's sleep. I think one of the things that I coach is how to get a better night's sleep through your breath as well, and actually focusing on the fact that you've had a bad night's sleep is not necessarily the best thing to do. The best thing to do is to focus on how you're going to sleep the following night and set everything in motion, ready to make sure you sleep well the next night. We all have bad nights. You know, I had a bad night before the weekend. With my mother needed a emergency A&E appointment. So, very disturbed night's sleep. Lots of thoughts racing through my mind. And I didn't sleep well at all. So I just focused my attention on making sure I put into play everything I needed to sleep well the following day.
Okay.
So yeah, don't worry about the odd night. The odd night where you don't sleep well. If it's habitual, and you are, you're not sleeping properly because you are stressed, you need to deal with that. Mm-hmm. If you are not breathing correctly during rest, when the demand on your body is low, then you have no chance at all of making sure you breathe properly when the demand is high. So in those heightened stress moments or during exercise, if you are not breathing as you should do, when you're resting, you've got no hope in those states of kind of heightened awareness.
That's great.
And one of the best ways to train your body to breathe well is to train it at night when you don't have to think about it. And if you take a 24-hour period and you manage to get 6 or 7 or 8 hours of really good breathing into play in that period when you're lying flat on your back, then you're way ahead of most other people.
Love
and
that.
The best way to do that is to tape your mouth closed.
Yes.
So if you breathe through your mouth now, just very gently, and put your tongue to the roof of your mouth. Notice where your breath goes.
Immediately
Goes
up.
straight to your nose. Yeah. Now just close your mouth and notice where your tongue is.
Top of the mouth.
Top of the mouth. So all that mouth taping is doing is keeping your mouth closed to keep your tongue in its parking place overnight at the roof of your mouth, and therefore you breathe through your nose all night. Your tongue doesn't slide to the back of your throat, so you don't snore. You won't be waking yourself up with little sleep apneas where you subconsciously or consciously gasp for breath. And you will see a remarkable difference in the quality of your sleep over a relatively short period of time. Now, mouth taping sounds scary.
Yeah, it is a bit weird at first.
It's a bit weird at first, and it'll create a few giggles with your partner. I put a cross actually on my mouth because I've got a bit of a beard.
Quite thin.
Relatively thin. So just use a micropore tape and just put a cross. Karen, my wife, just puts a single strip. You can still talk.
That's what I do. Yeah.
You can still talk. You can still breathe through your mouth if you need to. But the idea is that it keeps your mouth closed, tongue where it should be, and you nasal breathe. All the time you nasal breathe at night, you're breathing much slower, much deeper, and much lighter. And all those are, the right way for you to be breathing.
I'm on track to have over £5.5 million in retirement, and I'm not saying this to brag, guys. I'm saying this because I am an everyday person just like you. So what does that actually mean? Well, it means that it's actually possible for you to build life-changing wealth too, no matter where you're at on your journey, your age, your knowledge, or even your current financial situation. So Sammy, how do I sort that out? Well, I've created something super cool which literally takes 1 minute of your time. I've left a link in the show notes to a free money personality quiz which will provide you guys with a free tailored content plan based exactly where you're at on your financial journey. Once you filled it out, you're sent the steps to start getting you results from day one. And then once you're ready, you can then move up to the next step very easily too. It's not judgy in any way, it's totally free to do, and it's actually really good fun too. Simply head down to the show notes and click the link there where it says to do the quiz and get your free money action plan right now. Now back to the show. I love that. Yeah, I've tried it and now I can't sleep without it because I just noticed the difference. And I also don't get the 3 a.m. elbow. Shut up, you're snoring again. Get off your back. Literally is a nightly occurrence if I don't have it. I didn't take it on holiday recently. And 2 nights in, I was like, what is going on? I had that sort of fog back, and it's very interesting when you look at it like that. But I think it's beneficial for you, but also your partner if you are a snorer. But the quality of sleep is really interesting because I wear a Whoop, and you can track the quality of your sleep on it. And my REM, so your dream state sleep, is 25% up on the month where I wasn't. And that's a remarkable difference in the amount of deep sleep that I get. In terms of performance for me, in terms of training, work, everything, it's remarkable.
Yeah, I mean, we live such hectic, connected lives that our brains need proper time to rest and restore and cleanse and process. And, again, if you are in that heightened state for the majority of the day and then you go to bed and you're not sleeping well, your brain is still in that heightened state and it can't cleanse, it can't repair, it can't process all the data. So sleep is a key part of what we coach from from a health and well-being point of view. If you are breathing well during rest, then your body has got half a chance to breathe well when the metabolic demand on your body is much higher.
Yeah, absolutely. Last part of it, this really is the getting in some cold.
Yes.
And that, I think that alone is, number one, is the hardest part, because you have to, every day I do it, I'm like, don't do it, Sammy, don't do it, don't do it, what are you doing? But then after you do it for a few times, the way it makes you feel is like, it's like you're in the middle of having like the best night out ever. And you're in that moment where you're like, you turn to your mate and you're like, yeah, like, love you, man. And that's how you feel. But you feel like that for like 5-6 hours, which it is absolutely insane. That it's not easy.
I love that analogy of, in the middle of the best night out ever.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool. But there are, again, scientific reasons why that feels the way it does. So when you get into the cold, dopamine is massively increased, oxytocin is massively increased, serotonin, and a whole load of endorphins as well, all the feel-good ones. So you get a huge whack of all that good stuff flowing through your body. It goes back to that, that positive stress, good stress for your body, getting into the cold on a regular basis. And you don't need a fancy ice bath to do it. You can do it. Cold showers are just as effective.
Yeah.
But I think what you're referring to is the mindset you need to build in order to get regularly into the cold. And that is the thing that makes you feel all powerful. To get into, as a warm-blooded mammal, getting into the cold is one of the most difficult things we can do, because all the alarm bells are saying, do not do it. This is, we need to stay warm to function. Don't get into the cold. And if you can overcome that fear, and if you can create that strong and positive mindset that says, I don't care what you're telling me not to do, I'm going to do it. It makes you all powerful. And I've found, since I've been practicing cold exposure, that there have been some quite difficult decisions to make. They've been much, much easier to make, because I can get in the ice bath.
You're totally right. It is true. Like with the breath work, and then combining that with the cold exposure has been like nuts, because it's just like, I'm like, I've done the hardest thing today. My body's done the hardest thing today. And I'm like, everything after that is just like, oh, whatever. Okay, fine, cool. We've got to go and do that. And also like for mood as well, like regulating mood, because I'm quite up and down naturally as a person. And I find that I'm way more sustained and a lot happier.
Yeah.
And that's been a massive transformation since I've started doing it. I did buy a fancy ice bath. It was only 100 odd quid. It wasn't expensive. It was blew the thing up, put a bit of cold water in it, chuck a bit of ice in each time, and just, get in for a couple of minutes, 2-3 minutes. But you can just turn the cold on the thing, on the shower.
On the shower, yeah.
So easy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you don't have to be
for
there.
Those that want to give this a go, the key with getting in and out of the cold is your breath once again. So if you're really concerned about, oh my God, a cold shower is going to make me scream, just focus on your breath and make your exhale once again as long and as gentle as you possibly can. So as you turn that dial down, just focus on your breath. Nothing else matters. The water's cold, doesn't matter. Just focusing on my breath. Just keep that exhale going. Next breath in through the nose, focus on your exhale. And before you know it, you'll be up to 30, 45, seconds very, very quickly. And if you do that regularly, 3, 4, 5 times a week, you'll get all the benefits of this cold exposure. It's not just about making you feel good. It's not just about giving you a strong mindset.
Yes.
There are some really, really powerful health benefits to getting cold.
Yes.
Reducing inflammation, encouraging better circulation, balancing hormones, balancing those mood swing hormones. So there's a whole sequence of stuff that's really good for you as well.
Yeah. And one of the big things I listened to the Andrew Huberman Cold Exposure podcast was it kickstarts your immune system at like I think it's something ridiculous, like 200, 300% increase in your body's ability to fight off disease and any sort of cold, flu, anything like that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That immune build resilience is enhanced by cold exposure, but also by breathwork as well, by the way. Now, my immune system is compromised, as I said earlier. There have been loads of bugs flowing through our household over the course of the winter, and last winter as well. And I have been 100% okay.
You've not picked up anything.
I've not had anything, and I was the one that used to catch it at the first hurdle. So, there is science sat behind this that demonstrates that immunity is improved, and energy is improved, and sleep is improved, and all that sort of thing. But I'm living proof in the background that this stuff really works. I have not been ill. I don't get headaches anymore. I'm sleeping as I should do. I'm sharp. I'm focused. Concentrated, and I feel amazing as a result of it all. And it's accessible to everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I think to sort of land the plane on this, is there anything? I think it's important just to make sure, because is there anyone that shouldn't be doing this? You mentioned the high blood pressure, pregnancy. Is there any more? Yeah,
so epilepsy. Anybody who suffers from epilepsy is should not be practicing this stuff without any any confirmation from their GP. Anybody who's pregnant or breastfeeding, anybody with a heart condition or blood pressure, or anybody really that has got a serious health condition. I would just double check with your GP that you're okay to go. I think there are breath exercises that help reduce stress and anxiety that are safe for everybody. So that one we've just done with the finger under our nose, that's perfectly safe for everybody. You're not gonna cause yourself any damage there. There's another exercise that I would encourage everybody to have in their toolkit, which is the cupped hands exercise.
Okay.
Which is placing your hands over your mouth and nose and breathing in and out through your mouth and nose. That is safe for everybody.
What does that do?
So again, what we're doing is we're dialing down anxiety and stress.
Okay.
So if you've just come out of a really bad meeting, for example, and you're really concerned about it, go and sit yourself at your desk with your elbows on your desk, your fingers under your chin, cup your hands around your mouth and your nose, and just breathe in and out through your nose to the count of 4. So into the count of 4. And out to the count of 4, and really feel the areas around your lower ribs, under your armpits. Really focus your attention on drawing that air in down, nice and low down there. Just breathe in and out to the count of 4. Just into cupped hands, just again for 90 seconds or so, and you will find you feel different afterwards. Everything will be much, much calmer. Your heart rate drops down. Your respiratory rate drops right down. Everything is much, much calmer.
Dan, I think you're going to change some lives today. I really do. So. No, because I think it's so easy to do this, and just the benefits are just nuts. And I feel like it's something that everyone can do, and everyone knows that they need to breathe properly, and everybody knows that, we've gone in a cold shower or jumped in a cold lake, you feel pretty good after. Everyone knows that, but it's that fear of just doing the thing. And they're also I'm a busy person. I don't have 5-10 minutes. You're sitting on a train.
Exactly.
You're sitting in a car. You can do these things. Obviously if you're driving, but perhaps a little bit different, but you've got 5 minutes after a meeting. And that's the benefits. It sets you right up for the rest of the day.
Even if you don't get the chance during the day, just try to breathe properly at night.
Okay.
Just mouth tape at night. Get the breath forced in and out through your nose, and that you will be way ahead of everybody else. And if you've got kids at home, try to get them to mouth tape at night as well. They will remember stuff much better. They will perform much better at school. They'll be much more relaxed. They'll be much more focused. their faces will develop better as well, believe it or not. There's a study done in Brazil that shows the difference in children's facial features between mouth breathers and nose breathers.
Yeah, that's why they said I got ugly when I hit when I hit teens. I was a very cute kid, not so much now. It's mouth breathing, guys. But it's true that I read that same study. I think there's been a couple of follow-ups from that as well. Like, you get uglier.
You get uglier. Your dental structure is affected. Your mouth, your breath smells awful. So yeah, there are a whole host of reasons why you shouldn't be breathing through your mouth. But like I say, if you don't remember to breathe well during the day, just make sure you breathe well at night, because that gives you 6 or 7 or 8 hours of really good quality breathing, as you should do, giving your brain the opportunity to cleanse and repair as it should do, and will set you up for the day going forward.
And someone wants to do this like really quickly in the morning. How can they do that? Is it YouTube or?
Yeah, loads of stuff on YouTube. For those of your subscribers who want to learn a little bit more about this, I will send them a free PDF with some of these exercises listed out on. So if they have a stressful moment at work, they can just refer to that particular exercise, or they're struggling to get to sleep at night, they can refer to another exercise. So somehow we'll figure out how we.
I'll leave it in the show notes for everybody.
How we get that circulated to everybody. But yeah, they're just I guess my top tip really is just to focus on breathing in and out through your nose. Focus on breathing in and out through your nose, nice and light, nice and slow, and nice and deep. So not big breaths, because a big breath takes you straight to your chest. A deep breath takes you down nice and low. That's where the breath needs to go.
Dan, I've absolutely loved this. It's been really good fun. Where can people come find you? I know you do some amazing work, some corporate days, some sessions as well people can attend.
Yeah, so we do workshops, courses and classes down in our base in West Sussex, although we do travel around the country. We do lots of corporate sessions as well. So helping, corporate groups of managers or staff understand the power that is held in their breath. So any of those kind of inquiries through our website, vitaev.co.uk. I guess we'll put those in the show notes as well. But yeah, just reach out. And if you've got any other, breath questions, I'd be really happy to answer them, because for me, doing what I do now, isn't all about the money. I would have stayed in my very well paid corporate job if that was the case. My mission, is to help other people now. And if I've got, the opportunity to answer a concern or a question from anybody, then I'd be really happy to do so.
Yeah, love that, mate. Honestly, and just lastly, thank you so much as well for everything. It's been, absolutely eye-opening for me this year, and for Charlotte, my partner as well. She's absolutely loved it. So cheers for coming on, mate.
My pleasure. Thank you.